Well, Mark wants to know about something we talk a lot about. It always seems to either be gutters, crawl spaces, and it always involves water. And he's got a question about one of them. I guess two of them. So I said, this is from Mark. Says, Jason, I've listened to the show, and you've mentioned that one of the things to check before selling, and he obviously listens, is that crawl space. Well, he went in there, and as you suggested, they have problems, unfortunately. Doesn't know a lot about it, but he does say he has water coming in and the insulation is tethered and falling. Any suggestions on how to fix this? Thanks. Love the show, Mark.
Great question. And yes, we see this every week. And the answer is not burn the house down. Okay. So we'll start with that. It's not burn the house down. I promise.
Thank God.
Although I have seen a few of those. This is not one of those, but, There are some things you can do as a homeowner, and so just you're going to probably go to your comfort level that you can attempt before you call a professional. So, and if you need professional help, just to get some opinions, we've got several great companies that we work with pretty much every single week because we see this every single week, if not a couple times, and so they can definitely handle it. So the biggest mistake I see homeowners make is that they go in and they do the easy thing first, which is take the insulation out and replace it. But you do not want to do that before the problem is fixed, because just because the insulation is new doesn't mean that this moisture issue is not it's not going to go away with new insulation. Insulation with moisture is kind of like a sponge. That's why you're seeing it being tethered and falling down. That water vapor gets heavy. Insulation can't support it. It falls on the crawl space. Mark knows exactly what I'm talking about. So the key is finding the water source, and then you replace the insulation last. So a couple things, we'll go back to, gutters, right? If you have little oak trees growing out of your gutters, that means that's not a landscaping feature, right? And so we want to get those things cleaned up, get them, so the water can flow perfectly through the gutters, and then you want to check the downspouts. I bet 90% of the time we go find a crawl space issue, there's at least one, if not more than one or two or three downspouts that are not connected, and they're not diverting the water away from the house. It's just dumping right against the crawl space or the foundation wall. The other big culprit is look at your landscape beds. So over the years, we add pine needles, we add pine bark, we add whatever, and it starts to decompose, which raises the elevation of the bed. And the way it always seems to work is it gets really, really high in the front, and then we create a ski slope going right back toward the foundation wall. So the rule of thumb that you want to look at is if you go to into the foundation and go 10 feet out, you want to have at least 1 inch of drop for every 10 feet. That is enough to keep the water flowing away from your foundation wall. And that's true for a basement or a crawl space or really anything. But that's just a good rule of thumb. For right now, water still doesn't run uphill, right, with gravity. And so if you have that nice drop, you'll typically be able to correct that. And then you also want to check the vent wells. So, most all crawl spaces have vent wells. You want to make sure that they're free and clear of debris. There's nothing else around them. And a lot of times I'll see where the ground level is actually above the vent well, and so it's just dumping water into the crawl space. All that takes is a little bit of effort on your part to redo some landscaping, move some dirt around. But gutters, downspouts, and your landscape are the big ones. And if that does not fix the issue, then you could have water or groundwater coming in from inside the foundation or crawl space of the home, and that's really where you got to get a professional involved, because if you've got groundwater coming in, now we're looking at different products like French drains and other other methods that are probably outside the scope of most homeowners' expertise. And so look at the simple things that you can figure out and then monitor that, see if it worked, and if it didn't, before you spend the money and put new insulation in there, check all that out. And so, if you've got high moisture levels in the crawl space too, this is another reason to get a professional involved. They have, technology and meters that can measure the moisture and all that, and you may end up with a mildew or mold issue also. So another reason that a professional may need to be called. So great question. Is one that we see every single day. But those three things typically are the top culprits: gutters, downspouts, landscaping, not really diverting the water the way it should.